Welcome back, guys, and the truck that we are looking at on screen today is really and truly one of the most loved trucks in terms of base game trucks for SnowRunner ever since it was released. Now, this truck, for a lot of people, was the truck that started their journey. It was the truck that started their adventure, and it was the truck that completed most, if not all, of their first few tasks and contracts. Now, over a year after the game's release, Jay Boosted, who specializes in modifying base game trucks, has finally gotten his hands on it, taken it into his shop, messed with it, tuned it up, and given it many more options than really you could ever imagine that this thing would have. So let's get it into the garage, see what we can do with it, and then we'll take it out for some tests and maybe some challenges that you might not expect. So let's get it inside that garage and see what these upgrades and changes are all about. Now, those of you that have been following my channel for a long time will know that we have a long history with this truck. We have a long history with the base game version of this truck. When we originally did our very first few episodes of our SnowRunner Let's Play over a year ago, this truck was the main featured truck in the first probably almost 4 or 5 episodes. So it really does have a special place for me when I think of the beginning of my own personal adventure in SnowRunner as well. So let's go into the customization options. Now, engines-wise, we obviously have the SI-8V, we have the GB-8V 2600 TTA and 2700T. We're absolutely going to go with the 2700T, and I'm sure these have been recoded and modified a little bit. Gearbox-wise, we have balanced, high range, off-road, and JBE fine-tune. I personally recommend the JBE fine-tune. There's a lot going on in there, and I definitely think that if you enjoy using the fine-tune transmissions, that will be a great choice for you. Now, suspension-wise, you have stock, of course, but you also have JBE active, for those of you guys that are a big fan of the active suspensions. You also have JBE raised and JBE flex. We're going to go with JBE raised because the JBE raised suspension, while it does have the extra tire clearance, is also still going to be able to maintain that weight balance that you need for hauling some heavier loads. So we'll go with that. And now, tires-wise, this list gets pretty long, pretty quick, so bear with me on this one, but we have our highway selections that go up to a 46-inch tire in size. Then we have our all-terrain category, which, again, those are mostly default. Then you have the off-road category, and this is where you start getting into some custom tires, like, for example, the PT25 Grinder XL. Now, this is a dually version, as you can see in the rear. There's also the PT16 off-road double with the dually configuration in the rear as well, and those later on will repeat in the 46-inch size. Really interesting tires, and I definitely recommend giving them a try. Now, mud tires-wise, you have the 770G tires starting in 42-inch. You also have the PT25 Storm T2. You have the PT31 Razorback, and you have the PT33 Woodsman. And then you also have the Quasi Monster mud tires in 42, the Quasi Double mud tires in 42, and the Tega tires as well. Also, the JBE modified Tega tires, which do have a difference in performance. So I definitely recommend running both back to back so you can see the difference for yourselves. Now, these continue to go through a couple of different default tire setups, and then the tire list repeats in the 46-inch tire size. I really like this truck with the PT33 Woodsman setup, and that's probably what I'll be running. But if you did not want to run those, you also, of course, have the option of the Quasi Monster mud tires and really everything else that we discussed before in the 46-inch tire size. Now, you also have chain tires, and if you choose to go with a snowy region or an icy region, the chained or studded tire options are definitely going to be one of your best friends. So let's grab a set of PT33 Woodsmans, and we're going to now go into the winch category, which, I mean, you guys already know. Autonomous winch going in it right off the bat. Diff lock, engageable, staying in there. Spare wheel, we actually have the option for 2 spare wheels on this truck, so we'll definitely go for that. Now, snorkel-wise, we have short round cap, tall front-facing, tall round cap, and tall front-facing up near the cab. I like these options back here, but if you do decide to go with a dual stack for the exhaust, you won't really be able to use that tall front-facing snorkel, but the option is there if you prefer a single exhaust stack. So let's go with the tall front-facing snorkel. And we're absolutely installing a driven front axle. We need that for sure. And frame add-ons wise, you have the log carrier front, so you can use this thing for logging. You have the LP4 log loader crane as well. So once again, if you are interested in using this thing for logging purposes, those add-ons are there for you. Now, you also have the KRS-58 crane off of the Bandit. Really nice, fast-moving crane. The Atvo 23 heavy crane, the PC320 heavy crane, the utility mount, which I really dig. That's off of the F750. You have the logging frame add-on, and you have, actually, I would say, there's the medium one and the small one, which you can make your own decision there for which one you would like to take. You have the metal detector module. You have the IM50 loading crane, the color-matched sideboard bed, which is huge. That was recently introduced in the latest update with the Tatra DLC on the 8x8 Tatra, and I really like seeing it on different trucks. I think it really works very well, and I would like to see it as an option for all trucks, and yes, I know there's a mod for that, but I think it would be something that would be cool to see in the base game. So, moving on to the flatbed, the van body, the maintenance frame, the normal sideboard, the fuel tank, LC 3.8, saddle high, and saddle low. So for our build, we're going with the color-matched sideboard bed, and like I said before, we may come back and change a few things later, we may not, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, on to the visuals. The rear bumper, we have stock wheel fenders, you have mud fenders, stock wheel fenders, and steel fenders. For this build, I think we might go with the steel fenders, because they definitely have an interesting look to them, although that seems to have deleted my sideboard. Let's see if it actually... Oh, okay, I gotcha. So basically what that does is it deletes that particular fender setup. So we're actually not going to run any of those fenders because it seems as though it deletes that colored sideboard. Now, rooftop, you have raised beacon, 2 square beacons, flasher bar, normal flasher bar or red and blue flasher bar, twin horns, external horns, utility roof rack, which would be really useful, small roof rack. You really have a big range of options for that, and roof fogs as well. I'm going to do the red and blue flasher bar, and let's see, front bumper-wise, you have a massive, massive list of bumpers. I'm not going to go through and name each one of them because I'm sure you guys can either read them off or you'll be able to check them out yourselves, but at the end of the day, really nicely done and really nicely fleshed out list of bumpers. You also have a weighted bumper. If you want to be hauling some really, really heavy stuff, I would definitely recommend going with that option. And I think for our purposes here today, we're going to go with the, we're going to go with the angled bumper because it gives us a little bit of a better approach angle. Now, miscellaneous, we have the cabin protector and another cabin protector as well. Both of those are off of different trucks. We have spotlights, searchlight, side thresholds, angled sun visor, and angled with beacons. I'm definitely going to go with the spotlights. I like the idea of that. Now, exhaust-wise, we have the stock exhaust. We also have dual shielded exhausts. We have dual flap caps, single muzzle, dual slant cuts, and dual outrolls, as well as a single flap cap on the opposite side. I'm going to do the dual slant cuts. They're a little tall, but they do look pretty cool. We have one wheel option with the Woodsman tires, and then you get into your full range of color options, once again with that color-coordinated sideboard bed, which looks really, really nice. Very, very nice. Now, you can't really go wrong with any of the color options on this truck. They all look great, but I highly recommend scrolling down further because there is a gigantic amount of color options that you won't see if you just spend your time up at the top of the colors list. So, as you can see, there's pretty much a color combination and color option for everybody, and really everybody's tastes are pretty much catered to here. I mean, whatever color combination you want to go with, you literally have the option of doing all of them right here. This, for example, is very much like, this screams fire truck to me, but I mean, it may to you, it may not, but I really dig it one way or the other. I really, really like it. Now, let's see. Oh, that looks awesome as well. You could spend so much time in here trying to figure out what color combination to use. I like the red and white. I think it looks really good. Now, add-ons-wise, or I should say decorations-wise, we're going to go ahead and throw beans on the dash. We're not going to spend too much time in there, but now we're going to go ahead and see what this thing is actually like to drive. Now, right off the bat, it drives really nicely, it drives really smoothly, and you can also see that those spotlights near the windshield actually work really, really well. Now let's see what kind of add-ons we have in terms of trailers that we can use in conjunction with that particular sideboard bed. Now, of course, you have your standard assortment of medium-duty and heavy-duty pull-behind trailers, but if you wanted to use your, say, for example, your semi-trailers, you would obviously need a more semi-truck friendly setup. That MT56 trailer is so freaking huge. It's so ridiculous. But now that we've looked through the trailers list, let's see what this thing is actually like to drive. I miss that horn, man. I miss it so bad. Let's see. Let's load some cargo in the back just to see what it's like when we have some cargo back there. Now, let's see. Packaged sand. I know that's not too crazy, so we'll go and throw some of that back there. We'll just see how it does with a little bit of cargo in the back. Now, in automatic mode, this particular gearbox setup is still quite fast. And, you know, don't think that because it is one of the variable gearbox setups, it's still going to be, like, plenty to get out of its own way. Let's make the weather a little bit more bright, a little bit less gloomy outside. Not a fan of the ultra gloomy weather. I don't really think it, you know, caters well to the environment type, but as you can see right now, this thing in automatic mode just absolutely rips. And because of the fact that it rips so well in automatic mode, dude, I'm going to turn the HUD off. And I'm just going to let you guys enjoy this thing in all its glory with no HUD whatsoever. And you can see really the absolute just beauty that we're dealing with here in terms of what this thing looks like now that it's been brought into sort of the, I say the modern era, but the modern era of SnowRunner. What J-Boosted literally did was he took one of my personal favorite base game trucks and made it possible for it to perform at or above the level of the trucks that we are getting now today in the base game. So this thing is going to be an absolute, like, it's going to be an absolute beast in whatever campaign scenario you choose to use it in, and I would absolutely recommend using it really as many chances as you get. Seriously, as many chances as you get. Now let's go ahead and throw that HUD back on because, as you guys know, I need my controls. Because without the HUD on, you can't change gears, you can't really put the handbrake on. I mean, well, actually, you can put the handbrake on and take it off again, but at the end of the day, that's like one of the only things you can do. You can't switch the time, you can't switch the weather, which I would really like to be able to do, but it's one of those things. Now let's make our way up this hill in high. You can see that we were able to actually let off the... Whoa, lock those diffs. Catch yourself. Okay. It's actually kind of nice that it's got enough grip to let you do that. I literally, when I tested this truck out for the very first time, I went through here no problem at all. Although, hey, it's the line, bro. It's all in that line. Come on. It's not the cargo. It's all in that line. And as you can see, it is making a run for it. Come on. Giving it the beans all the way up and over the top. Wow. Wow. I think I'm stuck on my spare wheel, actually. So let's throw it into high with these Woodsman tires and see how it does. It's actually ripping. I mean, through the shallow mud, no question about it. This thing absolutely just moves out. What about the moderate mud? A little bit of suspension damage there. Not bad. If you keep working the steering, I mean, you'll be fine. As we get a little bit further out, though, it does require me to shift it into low plus and put the diff lock on. And I'm totally fine with that. I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, it still retains a degree of realism when you're messing around with it. But when you take it out here into the really deep stuff, actually, surprisingly enough, all you got to do is put it in standard low, and it keeps on, like, just literally just digging its way through the mud. It's actually a really, really nicely set up, well put together rig that I would highly recommend anybody and everybody have in their garage. Now, this thing should be totally fine to make it through the dips obstacle. I'm not too concerned about the dips obstacle this time. I know it's kind of become a staple of our testing, but I think that it more than proved itself by getting over that rock obstacle. And because we don't do the rock obstacle in every test, I'm going to allow this truck to skip the dips obstacle and head straight for the bridge jump. Now, I don't know if the highway transmission has been reworked or not. I would imagine it might have, but let's see. High range fleet. So let's see. 8 gears and it takes away... Oh, that's interesting. 8 gears and it takes away all of your low ranges, but how fast does it actually feel? It feels pretty quick. You ready for the bridge jump, Beans? Let's freaking go, my dude! Oh my god, why are we going up? I was so ready for the bridge jump, and then we went and did this. Like, okay. Alright, take 2. Let's get after it. 4th gear, 5th gear, 6th gear, 7th gear. Waiting in first person view to get to the bottom. 8th gear when? 8th gear now! Dude, beautiful landing. We almost completely damaged out the suspension, but that was one of the smoothest landings I've seen from a bigger truck in a long time. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video, please do let me know all of your thoughts and opinions on this truck in the comments down below. Hit that like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time.